Welcome to Factorio Masterclass. My name is Nilaus. This is the series of tutorials and guides here on YouTube covering all aspects of the game and aims to provide insights and resources to help you improve as an engineer in this beautiful game of Factorio. This tutorial will dive more deeply into the new feature in 1.1 with how to set up train limits at stations and how to convert your old bases into the new setup. The inspiration for these masterclass tutorials usually comes from my community feedback or from my Let's Plays. In this particular case, this is one of my previous Twitch Let's Plays. So I'm also, in case you didn't know, I'm streaming live on Twitch. The channel is twitch.tv/Nilaus. This is at 8 p.m. Central European Time, and I'm live 6 days a week. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, I'm playing Factorio. So do feel free to drop by so we can design, discuss, and yeah, just hang out together. If you like these kind of videos, hit the like button and let me know in the comment section below if you have feedback, ideas, anything like that for future episodes of the Factorio Masterclass series. So in order for us to really get into this, I have to explain a bit about the train setup, because this is even if you followed this series on Twitch, then maybe you can't really remember the intricate details of it. I barely can. So let's walk through how the train setup is. First, we're going to talk about the setup. Then I'm going to talk about the problem with this setup, and then we're going to go into the solution that is presented in 1.1. I'm going to implement the solution, and we're going to see the difference. So that's the plan for this episode. So it's kind of a different structure because it's not playing in a sandbox. It's playing in a real setup base. This is a base that produces. Let's have a look. Science. 1.3. It's actually not much, and one of the constraints here was actually the fact that the trains did not really act as I wanted. The core of this one is that I have a train bus, and each product has its own lanes so that they don't share lanes. It works really well, except that there is a lot of train congestion, which is exactly one of the problems that arise from this kind of setup. So let's have a look at the iron smelting setup. That's going to be one of the core parts, and this is the one we're going to be looking at. So the way it works, this setup is that we have a train station that can service 2 blue belts, goes in here to a smelting column that can produce 2 full belts, and that goes into a station. This station is dedicated to a specific location, and I have dedicated the number of locations for each so that it fits with the number the amount required to maintain the science per minute. However, since these are pretty big batches, well, they're each of these handle 90 per second. Then if something requires 95 per second, then I have to allocate 2 trains. It's just a way that I wanted to design it. It was an interesting concept, but of course it doesn't completely scale. But what it does present is that I wanted to have a situation where I had one big smelter and all of the iron trains are coming into the same smelter, all with the same name. So let's have a look here. You can see how many trains. What is that? 21 trains coming in. I'm playing right now, obviously, on the new experimental version 1.1. And it's because otherwise I wouldn't have access to this. So as you can see, we have 21 trains, all allocated to these 23 locations. What I've done, and this is very important, when you have this set up, you have to be able to answer a number of questions. So the first question, which is presenting a problem, if I just build all of these, they will all go into the first one and they'll get stuck there. So I have to make sure that where the trains are allocated to where they're needed. So the way I'm doing this in this particular case, and I think it's quite a good idea, is that I am saying that each station is open when it receives 2 green signals. What does it take to receive a green signal? Well, this one has 1 signal. Hold on. I need to move up here. As you can see, I don't have a character in this build. That's just the way that this series is running. And let's walk through here. So 2 green signals. One is when the iron here is less than 55,000, that means the content of these boxes is less than 55,000, then it can get another train in. The train has 32,000 in it, so basically it makes sure that the boxes never overfill here, and they're balanced out here, so that should be fine. Basically, don't open the train station unless you can unload a full train. That's what the top one says. The bottom one is basically summarizing everything in here across on the green circuit, across everyone. So that basically says it needs to be able to handle a full train unloaded, and it needs to be lower than A. That's the average. So that you can see here on the right hand side, the input signal A is 58,000. So basically at this moment, the average among all these stations is 58,000. So for example, this has 52,000, which is less than the 55. So it says one green signal. It has 52, which is less than the 60. So it's also a green. So this one is open and would like to get a train inbound, and it'll probably get one shortly. You can see here, trains are coming in, and lo and behold, we have a train coming in here. Nice and easy. This looks perfect. So we solved the one problem. How do we make sure the trains go to where they're needed? That's being solved. Now the next question that you have to answer is, how do you make sure that not all stations go to the same station as soon as it opens? So in this case, if we scroll out, when all is red and there's only one here, what happens? Every single one of these trains start routing to this location. And that's not great, to say the least. So what happens is, this is exactly what happens. We're trying to catch a train coming in here. That's a train, for example. This one is now routed as being inbound. It wants to go into this location, but maybe before it actually gets there, someone else will steal that spot. We're just going to have to wait a bit. Nope, that was still good. Then we're going to find some other train, that one. This one wants to go into here. And maybe that one as well wants to go into here. Ah, man, I thought I was lucky. We're looking at some random incidents here. So this one again. So this one is now, you saw it blinking to red. And as soon as it blinks to red, just for a second, then it skips that station and goes back. So even though there are other stations here that still are open, then as soon as the train is en route, like this one is, and if it switches to red, then it will automatically go back, which is what generates a lot of excess traffic. This problem is called thundering herd. You will probably hear me mentioning it once in a while, and it is quite a significant problem. You can see here the trains are coming in because one of them opens up, and before it gets here, by the time it gets there, it will have closed, or any time en route, all stations are closed. As soon as all stations are closed, all of the trains en route will be redirected. So how do I solve this? Well, the way I've solved it in this case, there are kind of two ways of solving it. Basically, in this case, what I've done, I've accentuated the problem for this specific test case so that we will see this. But basically what I want to do is make sure that the supply and the demand are somewhat balanced. If I have twice as much supply as demand, then in terms of trains coming in, then I'll have twice as many trains. And that means there will be a lot more trains inbound than will be needed. And they will always be sort of in a red state. You can see here they're coming in. Actually, it's much better to look at it like this. But as soon as we get to a point where all of them except one, or all of them turn red, then, I mean, in this case, it's actually working okay because something might come in here. This one, it is currently scheduled to go into this. But if something else comes in before and takes that slot, then it will have to be rerouted. And then it will reroute it to something else that's open. As long as one of these are still open, then it will be rerouted to that one. Where is it coming? There. What about the next one? Let's hit the next one. This is scheduled to go in here. There could be something else coming in before that. I'm just trying to see if we have what we have here. Now we're getting to a point where almost all of them are open. Or almost all of them are closed. That means we're going to start getting issues with that one is taking the last one, I think. And then as that one comes in, here we have it. None of them are open and it just goes in vain. And then it has to go all the way back to here. Wait until it starts going again. So now we've generated, because of this system, we've generated an excess traffic in the network here for no reason, even though shortly after going in it could have been redirected. So that is the major issue and the reason why this setup isn't working in 1.0. It has been one of the biggest flaws No, not flaws, shortcomings of the train system in Factorio. The fact that when you did a many station to many station setup, you had a tendency to get the thundering herd. You can work around it with excessive circuit builds. That's not something I've ever wanted to go into, because if you want to have a big base so that you start building these kind of circuit networks, then the circuit network also starts slowing down the game as well. So not really a good solution. So what is the solution in this case? Another solution would be just building a giant stacker and then having them park there. I am not a big fan of stackers, and this is what I built a stacker-free base here, and it's actually working really well, but it does have some limitations, and I've kind of set the system up for this test so that you could more easily see the limitations. So basically, the cost is excess traffic in the network, and excess train traffic is excess. It's usually when you build a mega base and you build a train base, if you ever run into a train bottleneck, there's just no way of fixing it, because trains are the infrastructure, the backbone of your base, and you can't just extend it at that point. So that's not something you want to get into a bottleneck on the train network, especially not on a train network that's generating excess traffic. But aside from it, it works. It does what it's supposed to. It keeps every single one of these fed. It just generates too much traffic. So what do? So now we have illustrated the problem when we do these kind of things, and we now need to look at version 1.1 and this extremely small little feature, enable train limit here. That's it. Let me just maybe not even explain it, but actually probably easier to show it. What I do is I say enable train limit and say only one train is allowed to come in here. And this is how you can actually convert your existing bases quite easily. Of course, if it is building a many-to-many and you're trying to compensate for it with stackers, with circuit networks, you can try to do this instead. So I have 21 trains available. I'm going to set this one to 1. And let's see if this one is, it's a 61. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. I hope that works. Okay, so now we zoom out, and then you can see there is a subtle difference in the color. These are no longer white, they are bluish. First of all, I know there's a problem with just doing it as this, because if a train is en route, by the time I copy it down here, then it'll just get stuck at wherever location is. So there might be some trains, if I look through this, that are stopped at rather unfortunate locations. So that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that they are not in bad locations. The ones that somehow like this, yep, see, that's stuck in a very bad location. So I'm just going to send it back. It's just making sure that this one's at a station, this one's at a station. This one's not at a station. It is. That one's at a station. Okay, so the ones that are stopped are now at stations, which is good. So we don't have anything really unfortunate to do. Okay, so what we're now seeing is that stops that are in here, this one was also one that was just blocked, is that any of these, any trains that come in here now, for example this one, will be allocated to this one, and there's no other trains that will be able to be allocated. What happens is that as a train departs from a station, it makes a reservation at the destination location. That's how it works. So a train, let's find an iron train that we have like this one. So before this one, currently all of them are closed, either because they are closed, inaccessible from current position. Yes, the reason why they're inaccessible is actually not because they're closed, but because they are either closed or they are closed because of a reservation. So when one of these open again, then immediately, we won't even see it blink, probably. It will set up. See that one here, going in, and then another one gets open up, and that one I think is, it's a bit weird. They should not be coming in here. They should be still out, be out in the network. That one is reserved for this one, and you can see now that, oops, if we go back to our location here, we are now seeing that trains are being allocated, but there are no trains that sort of make loops around and get stuck. Previously had quite a few trains coming in and going out. What we will see, however, is that there will be more stations that are open. The reason for that is because of the previous way, we had a lot of trains inbound that were inbound for, let's say, this one. And before it got in, this one had closed, but another one had opened. So it redirected to the other one. So on average, we will have more stations open, and not technically open, but actually with the blue color that is destination reserved. And that's basically, it's a super clever way of doing it. What you can do, and that might be something you want to do, if the time it takes for the train to go from the loading location to the unloading location is too long, you might allocate 2 trains, but then you have to make sure that there is a stacker of 1 extra train so that you don't get in a situation where it starts blocking the main line. But in this case, this whole thing is designed to be stackerless, and you can actually make it function perfectly without stackers thanks to a super small little enable function. The funny thing is that I've been talking so much with the community about how to do this, how to fix it, and then the developers just come up with like the simplest of simple solution, and it's just brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. The fact that they just have a single little field, and all it does is just limit the number of trains. Of course, behind the scenes, they also have to make some changes to the train network, because by the time it now departs the station, it will make a reservation on the destination, and that will then behave as closed for all other stations or all other trains. So this one is inbound. Do we know which one's inbound to? No, we don't. We just know that it's inbound. And that's what I would do in this case. As you could see how small the actual change was, I simply just set it to have a whole tutorial on just enabling this one to set it to 1. Done. However, you have to make sure that there are other things that still work. If you just have these set to 1, and I didn't have the condition, then they would just, if I didn't close them off like the hard close that I have here with the average and the value, then the trains would come in here and they would just park there until they were emptied, because they would go in even if they couldn't fully empty at that location. That's another way of doing it, but I don't like it, because in this case you could actually have 21 trains standing here, and then the 22nd and 23rd stop would actually never get a train because they were all just busy unloading at the other location, and you could actually get into a gridlock. So if you have more trains than stations, potentially you could do that, but I don't think that's likely to happen. And I think that's basically the brilliancy of this 1.1. I'm so looking forward to building many train networks in the future where I can do this, because truthfully this base could not be scaled primarily because I could not get more trains through. Also note that there's just a lot less train activity here, right? Because at this point we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trains inbound, but that's not much. Previously we had at any given time, we could have upwards of 15 or 20 trains inbound, some of them or half of them actually just going back. But in this case, we only have the trains inbound that can be reserved. True that some of them, for example, this one, we just got it. This one just departed. And it's going to take a bit of time to get into this location. But if we look at it, the amount in this location, it's at 53,000. So it doesn't matter if it takes 2 minutes to get in here, because that's not really, it's not going to run out. So make sure that you also design it so that it doesn't run out. Anyway, that was what I would have to do in this base, is just go through all of these. For example, here, all these iron locations, I would simply just call the iron inbounds the same name, and then do all of these, and then basically just allocate them out when they're ready. So that would be, I think that converting the whole base to the new train setup would be maybe a 15-minute job just to do that, and it would just work. That's the brilliant part of it. It would just work. And so, yeah, big thanks, a big shout out to the developers for finding an elegant and beautiful solution. It was also very clear that when they presented it in the Friday Facts, they were very proud about the simplicity of the solution, and I completely agree. So that's going to give us a new boost to train networks in the future. And I mean, trains are such an integral part of Factorio that it's just going to be absolutely fantastic. if you have any questions about this this feature, because it is deceptively simple, then let me know in the comment section below. Or you can also join me on the Twitch streams. As I said, I'm streaming Factorio Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Central European time. So do come on over, ask about trains. In the current Let's Play, I'm probably not doing many trains, but train questions are always welcome. Any question basically is welcome. So do come on over, twitch.tv/Nilaus, or just hang out here on YouTube or hang out on my Discord. Anything is super awesome. So if you like this kind of video and yeah, want to see more Factorio masterclasses, hit the like button and let me know in the comment section below with good ideas for upcoming classes. So we could end it as always. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Take care and stay effective.